أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
يا جماعة الخير، حتى مداواة الجريح هذا في عرف. يعني أنا وإلا أنا أرى أنه نناشد إسرائيل. أنا أقول نناشد إسرائيل لعل أسهل يطلعوا يعطونا. نحن إذا تصل الأمر نناشده
بس
إنه يداوي الجرح.
معه جيش الإسلام שאני נמצא באזור קוניטרה. אנחנו משוחחים היום עם אחד מהמושב.
ما في وقت صفنا، هسه احنا بمعركة، هسه احنا حاليا هسه بالمعركة ضد النظام. هسه إذا بدك أسمعك الصوت وأبعث لك مقاطع فيديو من هون.
صوت إيش؟ إطلاق نار؟
إطلاق نار.
עוד מבהיר לנו איש צבא האסלאם כי לדעתו לישראל יש אינטרס לסייע למורדים נגד המשטר.
هل من رسالة إلى الجانب الإسرائيلي؟
هم دعموا في الثورة هون، آذرونا بكل شيء يا أخوي، سلاح، غذاء، معونات، أي شيء يا أخوي.
לבסוף אנו שואלים אותו גם על הזליגות לישראל בימים האחרונים.
كل من عم تردوا عليهم أبدا، أنتم لازم تعاونونا وتساندونا ضد هالنظام الكامل.
What should be the future of the Middle East 10 years from now? I'll tell you, it should be based, the whole concept of stability, security, statehood should be based on several parameters. First of all, we have to accept that it is very, very important to create a coalition, a Sunni coalition that will be led by Turkey. Why Turkey?
Iran.
Yes.
What should Israel do?
Iran is a huge threat. We cannot live with Iran having a nuclear military power. We should not accept it. The question is, how much time do we have? And what should we do? Now, for me, how much time do we have is with a correlation to what should we do? Because if we are going to act unilaterally without any American or international support, without creating the atmosphere in the Middle East, it is not only that we shall have to face the reaction. Probably it's too late. All what we can achieve with our military power probably is to delay the program for, I don't know, 12, 18 or 6 months. But if the assumption is that we are a part of a coalition that based on a kind of a Sunni coalition and America...
What do you mean by Sunni coalition?
Sunni coalition, that it means that Turkey with Egypt, with Jordan, with Saudi Arabia understand that the major conflict is with Shia led by Iran, and they create this coalition, as I mentioned before, in order to create this coalition that will face Iran, the Palestinian, Israeli... Okay, so this is the coalition.
I think that many Arabs in the region learned to respect Israel, to see that there are probably this kind of negative points from their within their worldview, but also positive points in having Israel in the region. And I'm hopeful that under the proper auspices of the world, we can try to promote simultaneously a regional arrangement to face terror, to
can I follow on the...
together with regional infrastructure project, together with facing the Iranian hegemonic intentions.
We are living in the same area. As you noticed, I'm sure, I said neighbor. Although we don't have common borders within Israel and Turkey, but we have the same interest. As long as we have same interest, we work together, we try to face the common problems together, and we are allies, we are strategic allies, as long as our interests force us to do so.
But I think that the right approach to the ISIS in Syria was described by the Turks. The Turks, they have a lot of experience. They reigned over the area for 400 years. They know everything.
Absolutely. They also contributed to some of the region's problems, not in a small way.
Probably the British Empire contributed more problems than the Turks. But the Turks proposed the following. We are ready to cooperate with you Americans against Daesh, but we want you not to forget Assad. We cannot win over Daesh and make Assad much more happy focusing on others.
Mr. Barak, this argument cuts both ways, and I'm sure you know that. I mean, the Russian perspective is very different on that. I heard you criticize the American strikes against ISIS as something that potentially could empower your traditional enemies, Iran, Syria, Hezbollah. But as a soldier, what do you think could be done at this point to combat ISIS?
First of all, we are seeing too many states in the Middle East collapsing. You know, from Libya to Lebanon already collapsed for a long time.
It's not
Syria and now
exactly
Iraq.
without the help from the outside. Let's put it this way.
But
Ya birisi şey yapsın, onlar kapatacaklar.
Asker çıkın.
I cannot confirm any kind of relationship between us and the Saudis, but it's clear that we have a common interest with Egypt, with Jordan, with the Saudis, with the Gulf states about blocking or putting Iran at bay.
But why can't you find a common interest with the Iranians then? If you are discussing everything on the pragmatic...
I tell you why, because they are, you know, unlike the Saudis, they are supporting Hezbollah, who tries to...
But the Saudis are supporting, I mean, the extremists all around the region. It's not like they're...
But they're not supporting directly anyone who is active daily against Israel, like Hezbollah and the Hamas. So basically, and Saudis never announced that they have a dream or vision of seeing a Middle East without Israel. Probably they don't, we are not their dream as well. And probably they would not cry if Israel would never come into being, but once we are there, I believe that they'll take us as a fact, and probably not the most negative fact in the Middle East. Some of the faces are already identified.
Ephraim Halevi, what outcome do you think the Israeli government wants to see in Syria? A victory for Assad or a victory for the rebels? Or is this Syrian civil war dragging on actually the best of both worlds for Israel because it neutralizes a threat on the country's border? As some would say, it's useful and it distracts attention from the Palestinian problem.
First of all, 6 successive Israeli prime ministers tried to get peace with Syria. 6 of them. And none of them was able to do this. Syria is the key to peace in the Middle East. It has always been Syria and not any other country. Secondly, I want to say very clearly that the problem in Syria today is not the Syrians, it's the external involvement in Syria.
On both sides or one side?
The Syrians entered a civil war. Within the last few years, at least 3 foreign elements have entered Syria. One was the Hezbollah, and Assad tried, with the help of the Hezbollah, to overcome the opposition, and the Hezbollah failed. Secondly, the Iranians came in, and they failed dismally. And then the Russians had to come in because the Iranians had failed, and the Russians came in, and they also...
And they would all say foreign fighters came in on the other side. Just
foreign fighters are foreign fighters, but the Hezbollah had nothing to do there, the Iranians had nothing to do there, and I think the Russian presence is not contributing even to Russian
So to deal with my question, what does Israel, in your view, want to see as the outcome in Syria? Assad staying or Assad going? A victory for the rebels or the victory for the government?
I think,
or neither?
I think
perpetuation of war.
what Israel would like to see would be an outcome where an independent Syria, independent from foreign intervention, was left to its own and was able to chart its course.
So an independent Syria with Assad would, in control would be fine, as long as it was.
I didn't say in control. I'd say an independent Syria in the confines of the Syrian borders would be able to chart a policy of, shall we say, of peace and of acceptance with its neighbors.
It's a wonderful description. I'm sure many people would support it. You're not actually answering the question. With Assad in charge or the rebels in charge?
Whoever is in charge.
So Israel doesn't have a view, is your answer?
Whoever is in charge and is willing to follow such a policy.
So to be clear, Israel does not have a preference between the rebels and Assad. It's whoever sticks to this description.
I think we have no preference.
Okay, you say no preference. There have been reports that Israel has been treating wounded Syrian rebel fighters in its hospitals on the border, including fighters from Nusra Front, which is, of course, the Al-Qaeda proxy in Syria. Do those reports worry you that Israel's helping wounded Al-Qaeda-aligned fighters?
As I said before, in a different context, it's always useful also to deal with your enemies in a humane way. And I think that when you have people who are wounded and you can deal with them in a humane way, the considerations as to whether to take them in are not simply whether it's politically useful or whether it's politically
contributory. So it's purely humanitarian, you say. So there's no tactical or political strategic...
I didn't say there's no tactical. I said the main consideration, the immediate consideration is humane.
But the tactical issues involved, I mean, you know better than me the phrase blowback. You don't think there's going to be blowback against Israel if you get into bed with a group like Nusra Front?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be blowback.
Why?
Because I think that, unfortunately, the rules of the game in Syria are such that you can do anything that is not possible to be done anywhere else.
Yeah, I think people said that in Afghanistan too. Would you also treat Hezbollah fighters?
No. I would not treat...
Have you not just contradicted what you told me 60 seconds ago about humanely treating your enemies?
No, no. I think as far as Hezbollah fighters are concerned, with them we have a different account.
So let me be clear, you're happy to treat Al-Qaeda fighters, but not Hezbollah fighters?
We have a different account with Hezbollah, a totally different account, because Hezbollah has carried out the type of actions against us which preclude us from going into what the Al-Qaeda has done. Al-Qaeda, to the best of my recollection, has up to now not attacked Israel.
But it's attacked your #1 ally and protector and sponsor, the United States of America. There is a quote-unquote war on terror being going on for 15 years.
First of all, when it comes to fighting Al-Qaeda in intelligence and in other areas, yes, we are together with the United States on all these things.
Okay.
But so Israel was not specifically targeted by Al-Qaeda, and therefore it's a different kind of account than we have with Hezbollah.
You've said Israel should talk to Hamas, talk to your enemies. Yes, yes. Would you also talk to Hezbollah?
If they change their spots, yes. If they show the inclination, for instance, that certain people in Hamas have shown.
You don't believe anyone in Hezbollah has shown the inclination to Hamas?
No, I think not. Because Hezbollah is an extension of Iran. And unfortunately, the Iranians, I think out of miscalculation, are continuing their policies towards Israel, and they will suffer from it as they are suffering in Syria.
Well, fresh reports have surfaced about Israel's support for militant groups fighting against the Syrian government. Israel is said to be providing medical treatment to injured militants from Nusra Front, the Syrian branch of Al-Qaeda. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, Israeli forces have allowed militants to cross into the occupied Golan Heights and receive treatment in Israeli hospitals. The paper also says the militants haven't bothered Israel since seizing the area last summer. Last week, photos obtained by Press TV show Takfiri militants from Nusra Front standing next to Israeli soldiers. Israel is also believed to have provided intelligence and military support to militants fighting to topple the Syrian government. Crossing over to Indiana, joined by the editor of Culture Wars, Mr. E. Michael Jones. Mr. Jones, good to have you with us. Is this enough proof for those perhaps who did not believe it before that al-Nusra and Israel are working, it seems obviously, together?
Yes, I think it substantiates what the Supreme Leader said a year ago when he said that the Takfiri were basically being supported by Israel. They were a Mossad front. So I think that over a period of time, he's been proven right. More evidence keeps coming in every day about the connection between Israel and these groups. But I think there's a more important point here. I think that what we're seeing here is Israel taking up the slack that the United States is leaving off here. I think that what we're seeing here is if we link this to the Obama administration's attempts to get a nuclear agreement, and also Bibi Netanyahu's speech, and then this recent letter by the Republicans, I think what you're seeing here is an attempt on the part of the foreign policy elites to disengage from the Middle East. I think that's what's happening here. And I think that this Iran stock is going to rise as a result of this, because Iran is now going to be part of the balance of power in the Middle East, so that the United States can withdraw its troops and concentrate on Russia. I think that's what the meaning of this is.
Well, what does it mean exactly then, if that is a scenario, what you're saying, that the United States want to withdraw from this area? Then what do you make then of the whole ISIL scenario? Many people say it was actually supported by the United States, and of course, and also one of its allies, like Israel, as well as Saudi Arabia and others. So if it's the case that they want to withdraw, then why would they create this type of chaos, or at least support those who have basically created this chaos in the region?
Well, this has been the backbone of American foreign policy ever since the Mossadegh coup in 1953. The United States adopted this practice from the British. The British were always arming proxies. They began in the Napoleonic Wars when they armed the Spaniards, and that's where the word guerrilla comes from. They started with the Spaniards, but as Liddell Hart, the famous English strategist, wrote in his book Strategy, he says, these groups always get out of control. So what you see here, I think, is the United States hoping to control this Frankenstein as much as it could. They succeeded in Libya, so okay, now we'll move to Syria. And then the thing got out of control. It didn't bring down Assad. And then when it didn't bring down Assad, then they start to have second thoughts. The first thing that Kerry did when he became Secretary of State was to refuse to give them heavier, sophisticated weapons. So at this point, I think they realized they had a Frankenstein on their hands. They tried to manage him for a while. It didn't work. And I think now they're trying to disengage because it's Frankenstein.
All right. Thank you so much. Sorry, we're out of time. Thank you for being with us. E. Michael Jones, editor of Culture Wars out of Indiana.
The Syrian casualties are being treated here alongside other patients at this ordinary Israeli hospital.
Since February 2013, we treat already 520 Syrian casualties.
How many of them are men? How many of them are women?
80% of them are men.
So from the point of view of whether they're fighters, it's don't ask, don't tell kind of approach?
No.
Because the answer could be difficult.
I think so, yes, maybe. Upstairs.
Okay.
Are
the Syrian patients in a separate area from the other patients?
They have military protection.
So they're guarded?
The room, yes. Yeah. Okay. This is the Professor Len.
Pleased to meet you. Hello, I'm Jake. Pleased to meet you.
20-year-old Mohammed had been wounded in the leg while fighting the Assad regime.
And his leg was fully destroyed, and even there was possibility to lose this limb. Harikat Sabia. Hasis.
How are you feeling?
Good.
Better? Yeah. What happened?
كانت طلق الدوش كسرت العظم واللحم فجرت الطلقة على الوش احترق اللحم. لما تصابت ما خفت حتى هلا وأنا قاعد بغرفة أخاف رصاص.
Do you feel that Israel is your enemy?
لا اللي بيعالجك مو عدوك.
Ahmed, who was shot in the groin by Assad troops, was also full of praise for Israel.
If in the future there is a war with Israel, will you fight against Israel?
لا خلي يسألني ليش؟ لأنه إسرائيل شافت المصابين أحسن من العرب كلاب.
How do you feel treating these people?
I hope that most of our patients after this treatment can change their life position.
But not everyone shares this optimism. Issa Perez, an Israeli Arab social worker who spends time with the Syrians every day, told me that when the cameras weren't rolling, the militants had threatened to kill him.
Do you think that many of them get the treatment here, will go back to Syria and then later fight Israel?
So you can't change his mind in 1 week. He grew up as an enemy of Israel, and you can't change his mind in 1 week that you give him a place to you take care of them about 2 weeks. And one of them told me, you can't change my mind. 25 years old I am. I grew up as that Israel is my enemy, Israel is the devil. You can't change me in 1 week.
So some of them were telling me that now they like Israel. Do you think they're just pretending?
I don't trust any one of them. Just in God I trust. So I don't know what they will say when they go back.
The challenge facing the medical staff here is the same one that policymakers all over the world are grappling with. Amid the scores of militia, guerrilla groups, Islamists and jihadis fighting in Syria, how do you know who can be trusted?
أشهد أن لا